Skylar Reed versus Cameron Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Members of the jury, opposing counsel. My name is Sophia Alvarez, and today I proudly represent the plaintiff, Skylar Reed, and I will be conducting the opening statement, the direct of Dr. Morgan Boyd, and the cross-examination of Dr. Harper Kennedy.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel. My name is Deanna Mood, and today I will be conducting the direct examination of Dakota Adams and the cross-examination of Raven Francis Rowe.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel. My name is Abigail Canalejo, and I will be conducting the direct examination of Skylar Reed as well as the cross-examination of Cameron Jackson. I will also be delivering the closing argument. Permission for our witnesses to introduce themselves?
Sure.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel. I'm Skylar Reed.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Dakota Adams.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Dr. Boyd.
Members for the defense.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Abigail Green, and I am the opening statement attorney for Cameron Jackson, and I'll be direct examining Dr. Kennedy and cross-examining Dr. Boyd.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury, the opposing counsel. I'm Octavius Orange, and I will be delivering the direct of Raven and the cross-examination of Dakota Adams.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Anthony Copley, and I will be conducting the cross-examination of Skylar Reed and the direct examination of Cameron Jackson. I will also be delivering the closing argument. Permission for our witnesses to introduce themselves?
Please.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Raven Rowe.
Good morning, my name is Cameron Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Dr. Kennedy.
Ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Permission to move the podium?
As you wish.
In life, there are passengers and there are drivers. In this case, the passenger was the plaintiff, Skylar Reed, and the driver was no other than the defendant, Cameron Jackson. Cameron Jackson drove my client down the path of destruction. On July 4th, 2016, my client, Skylar Reed, attended the Music on the Sand Festival hosted by Cameron Jackson. The evidence will show that after arriving late to the performance, my client stood on a trash can to get a better view of his favorite performer. In the middle of their performance, he noticed a drone flying very near his head, but didn't think much of it. After a while, he noticed that it was flying very, very near his head and tried to duck, but was unsuccessful. As a result, the drone collided with his forehead and he fell backwards off the trash can, suffering a concussion and injuries to the frontal lobe of his brain. The defense would like you to believe that my client fell off the trash can because of a small gust of wind. But today, we will prove to you that the drone was the actual cause of this incident. Today, you will hear from Skylar Reed himself, as well as Dakota Adams, a lifeguard who witnessed the whole event, and Dr. Morgan Boyd, who examined Mr. Skylar Reed after the incident. In life, there are passengers and there are drivers. In this case, Skylar Reed was the passenger and Cameron Jackson was the driver. Cameron Jackson drove Skylar Reed down the path of destruction. Because of Cameron Jackson's careless actions, my client has to suffer every day. I hope that at the end of this case, and I'm confident that you will find Cameron Jackson liable of her actions. Thank you.
Opening remarks from the defense.
Members of the jury, Skylar Reed took his own risk on July 4th, 2016. When you play with fire, you get burned, and Reed played with fire and of course got burned. He decided that he wanted to climb on the trash can, but there were specifically signs that said not to climb on objects. And the ticket said that there will be a drone. But he was careless enough not to read the description on the ticket. So he took his own risk, and he of course got injured. But he wants to blame Cameron Jackson for not being in control of the drone. But that was not his fault if he had to take an emergency call. And he wants to say that a 2-pound drone hit him when there was only 10 miles per hour of wind, and it specifically said in the instruction manual for the drone to not fly the drone if there's 25 miles per hour. So thank you. I am confident that you'll choose the defense case.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to call Skylar Reed to the stand.
You may proceed.
Permission to move the podium.
At your pleasure.
Hi, can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
I'm Skylar Reed, R-E-E-D.
What is your occupation?
I am a senior at Coastal College.
And what do you study?
I study psychology.
And how do you do in school?
I was doing great, getting good grades until I get chronic headaches, and now I'm failing school.
And why do you have those symptoms?
I suffered a concussion.
Now, let me direct your attention to July 4th, 2016. What were you doing on that day?
I was attending the Music in the Sand Festival.
Can you please tell the jury what the Music in the Sand Festival is?
Well, it is a festival on the sand where the radio station WSCB hosts on July 4th, where famous artists of music come to play, and fans of that artist can enjoy their music.
Let the record show that I am now showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 2 for identification. Permission to approach the witness.
Yes.
Skylar, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as Exhibit 2 for identification. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
What is this?
it is a map of the Music in the Sand Festival.
Does this accurately depict the way the festival was set up on the day you arrived?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I'm now moving Exhibit 2 into evidence.
So, accepted.
Okay. Permission to publish to the jury.
Yes.
Skylar, now that you have looked at Exhibit 2, which is now in evidence, was the concert in a closed arena or concert hall?
Not really, it was kind of like on the beach in the sand.
Were there chairs or benches for people attending to sit in?
No, it was really unorganized.
So how did you get tickets to this concert?
Well, my mom and dad knew that I really wanted to go, so for Christmas they gave me a ticket.
And were you excited to go?
I was really excited.
So when did the festival begin?
It began July 3rd, however I had to go to July 4th.
And why didn't you go on the 3rd of July?
Because the weather wasn't really that nice.
And did you go on the 4th?
Yes, unfortunately I did.
At what time did you arrive on the 4th?
I arrived about 4:30.
Can you describe the weather that day?
It was nice and sunny, it was a good day, but it was pretty windy though.
And were you able to get a good spot to see the concert in the VIP section?
No, not really.
Can you tell the members of the jury about the concert once it started, please?
Well, the concert, at the beginning, there were some good bands. I didn't really know the songs or the people, but I was really waiting for the main act.
And was there a drone flying around at that time?
Yeah, there was a drone flying around recording it.
So let's talk about that drone a little bit more. For the record, I am now showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 4, page 1 of 3. Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Skylar, I'm now showing you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 4, page 1 of 3. Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
What is this?
It is a picture of the drone.
Is this an accurate picture of what the drone looked like during the festival?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm now moving Exhibit 4, page 1 of 3 into evidence.
So,
Permission to publish to the jury?
you may.
Could you tell who was operating the drone?
At the time, I didn't know, but I just knew that it was a radio station.
So when did you first see the drone?
I kind of noticed it, but I didn't really pay full attention to it.
So when did you first see the drone?
I saw it when Raven was performing.
Okay. And could you see Reagan's performance well from where you were?
No,
So during Reagan's performance, was the radio station's drone still in the air?
yes,
So did you do anything to get a better view of the performance?
yeah, I stood on a nearby trash can.
While the radio station's drone was flying over hundreds of people in the VIP section, did you get hurt in any sort of way?
Unfortunately, I did.
Can you please tell us about that?
Well, when I was standing on the trash can to get a better view of Raven, I saw the drone coming towards me, and I tried to duck to avoid it, but it hit me on the head.
At the hospital, did you remember what had happened?
Not initially, no, but shortly after I remembered.
So do you remember what happened to you now?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I was on the trash can, and the drone hit me on the head, which made me fall off.
And you mentioned earlier that you're failing in school because of a concussion. Was the concussion that caused you to fail some of your classes caused by this drone?
I guess it was.
No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to retrieve blank evidence?
Sure. Defense wish to inquire? You may proceed.
Mr. Reed, Raven is your favorite musical artist, right?
Yes.
You did attend the Musical and Sound Festival, right?
Mhm.
You got to the festival a little late, and when you first got there, the view was not as good as you would have hoped, right?
No, it was not as good.
For the record, I am now showing the opposing counsel what was marked as Exhibit 7. Permission to approach the stand.
You may.
This is what was been marked as Exhibit 7. Does it look familiar to you?
Yeah.
I am now moving this to evidence. Permission to publish to the jury?
Be accepted into evidence,
Yes.
and you may publish.
This is a copy of one of many signs that were posted all over the festival that says not to climb on yourself. But you still decided to break the rules and climb on the trash can, correct?
Correct.
So while you were standing on the trash can, it was windy, right?
Yes.
Before you got on the trash can, the crowd was pushy and reckless, correct?
Yeah.
You were aware that there would be a drone flying around, right?
Yes, but they didn't really make it prominent.
While you were on the trash can, you tried to lean a little bit closer to the stage so the drone could get a good shot of you and Raven, correct?
Yeah.
A big gust of wind came and caused you to fall off the trash can, correct?
No, the drone, probably caused by the gust of wind, the drone hit me and caused me to fall off the trash can.
So are you saying that a small drone weighing only 2 pounds was enough to knock you off balance and cause you to fall?
Well, I mean, a drone hitting me in my face, yes.
Okay. So when you were in the ambulance, the EMTs told you that you had lost your balance while you were on the trash can, but you did not remember this, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
hospital, you suddenly, out of nowhere, remembered that it was a drone that hit you in the head because you were falling.
At first I did not remember, but I did remember.
No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to retrieve my evidence.
Yes.
At this time, I call Dakota Adams to stand. Would you please introduce yourself and spell your last name for the jury?
Hello, my name is Dakota Adams, Adams.
Where are you currently employed?
I'm a senior lifeguard at Palmetto Beach.
What are your responsibilities as a lifeguard?
As a lifeguard, we have to be prepared for anything, including dehydration problems, and recently, due to our warm waters, sharks.
Let me direct your attention to July 4th, 2016. What happened that day?
That day, there was a huge music festival.
Where are you placed on the beach?
I was in the main lifeguard tower that they were using as their headquarters.
How high is the lifeguard headquarters?
It is 70 feet above ground.
How did you meet Cameron Jackson?
I met Cameron Jackson because he was in the lifeguard tower with me piloting the drone.
Were you surprised that a drone was being used?
Yes, but even more surprising was that they didn't get a drone expert.
Did it seem like Cameron Jackson was a professional or experienced drone operator?
No, it did not.
Objection, lack of knowledge.
Respond.
I wasn't asking the witness to give speculation or a lack of knowledge, just the opinion of Cameron Jackson.
Sustain.
Did Cameron Jackson ever take her hands off the controller while operating the drone?
Yes, she did.
What was happening when Cameron Jackson put the drone controller down?
She put it down on the ledge and she was answering the phone. As she was on the phone, the controller fell off of the ledge.
Did you actually see the drone crashing into Skylar Reed?
Yes, I did.
How could you see the drones crashing into Mr. Reed?
I had binoculars, and although the stage lights went out, it was still light enough for me to see.
Did you do anything to help Mr. Reed?
Yes, I called for an MET and I grabbed a towel to apply pressure to his head.
Did Cameron Jackson do anything to help Mr. Reed?
Not that I know of, no.
No further questions.
It was dark at the festival, correct?
Yes,
And you were far away, correct?
correct.
So you could have missed things, is that right?
I had binoculars.
Okay. When Skylar Reed was hit by the drone, the injury was to the back of the head, correct?
Correct.
And you knew TJ was going to use the drone, but you didn't stop him, correct?
Correct.
No further questions.
May step in.
At this time, I would like to call Dr. Morgan Boyd to the stand. Hello, Dr. Boyd. Will you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury? And for the record, please spell your last name.
Hello, my name is Dr. Morgan Boyd. I'm 45 years old and I'm a medical advisor. My last name is spelled B-O-Y-D.
Where are you currently employed?
I am a medical advisor at the Coastal Brain Injury Research Center.
How long have you been practicing your profession?
I have been a medical advisor for about 18 years.
Do you have any journals published?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I tenure Dr. Boyd as an expert.
Anything from the defense? So be accepted.
You work frequently with TBIs, correct?
Yes.
What is a TBI?
A TBI is a traumatic brain injury.
Did you ever have a patient by the name of Skylar Reed?
Yes.
How did you come across Mr. Skylar Reed?
He was referred to me by the Coastal Regional Hospital.
What did Mr. Reed tell you about the cause of his injuries?
Mr. Reed informed me that after being on top of the trash can for quite a while, he noticed the drone flying near his head. After trying to dodge it, he said that he was unsuccessful and the drone hit him in his forehead, causing him to fall off the trash can.
Let the record show that I am now showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 5 and Exhibit 8. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
Dr. Morgan Boyd, I'm now showing you what is Exhibit 5 and Exhibit 8. Have you ever reviewed or seen these reports?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I reviewed these reports in coming to my conclusion of the case.
Can you please tell the members of the jury what these are?
Well, this is a report from the Coastal Regional Hospital, and this is the traumatic brain injury article co-authored by Dr. Kennedy.
Your Honor, I now move Exhibit 5 and Exhibit 8 into evidence.
Will be accepted.
Permission to publish it to the jury.
Okay.
After reviewing these reports, what was your conclusion of the case?
Well, after reviewing both of these reports and anecdotal evidence, I came to the conclusion that the cause of Mr. Skylar Reed falling off the trash can was the drone hitting him in his forehead.
Why do you think that after the drone collided with Mr. Reed, it did not leave any damages to the external part of his forehead?
Well, if you view Exhibit 4, where there is a model of the drone, you can see that the drone was equipped with blade guards to prevent any cuts or injuries.
Based on your own examinations, what were the injuries suffered by Mr. Skylar Reed?
After this incident, Mr. Skylar Reed ultimately suffered two major injuries, the first one being laceration to the scalp of the back of his head caused by hitting his head on the concrete, the second one being damage to the frontal lobe of his brain caused by the drone colliding with his forehead.
What are the long-term effects that Mr. Reed will face because of this incident?
Well, following this injury, Mr. Skylar Reed is already having trouble focusing and remembering things in school. This could further lead him to developing dementia later in life. It is my opinion that Mr. Skylar Reed will only continue to suffer from symptoms of post-traumatic brain injury for the rest of his life.
No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to retrieve the evidence?
Okay.
You worked on Reed's examination, correct?
Correct.
You wrote the reports, is that right?
No, I did not.
Was the swelling of the frontal lobe inside?
Yes.
Some patients you have worked on have had memory loss, correct?
Yes, but it is usually only temporarily.
Your Honor, may I please approach the... Your Honor, may I please approach the witness stand to show Exhibit 5?
Sure.
Is there anything about internal frontal lobes in it?
Yes, there is.
Did you write this report?
No.
In your report, there was not any external injury in Reed's forehead, correct?
Correct.
So, is that reflected in Exhibit number 5?
Yes.
Witness may step down.
At this time, Your Honor, the plaintiff rests its case.
Defense, do you have any witnesses?
Yes. I call Cameron Jackson to the stand. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell out your last name for the record?
Yes, hello, my name is Cameron Jackson, Jackfon, and I'm 24 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I work at the WFPB radio station.
How long have you been in the radio business?
I've been working there since I dropped out of college in my sophomore year.
Okay. Did you have anything to do with the Music on Sand Festival?
Yes, I was the main coordinator of the event.
As the main coordinator, did you add any extra safety precautions?
Yes, I put a sign up to avoid people from climbing objects.
Okay. As the head coordinator, did you do anything to make it unforgettable?
Yes, I was live streaming the audience and the performance from a drone camera.
Why did you use a drone?
Because it's a great way to get the audience really engaged and thrilled about the concert.
What kind of drone did you use?
I used an X-75 drone remotely aircraft with HD cameras.
Why did you choose this particular type of drone?
Because it only went 20 miles per hour, so it was a great way to get better and stable footage.
Okay. How big was this drone?
It was really small, it was only 2 pounds.
Did you have practice with the drone prior to the festival?
Yes, since I got the drone early, I got to practice every day for 2 weeks, and sometimes I did even multiple sessions.
Where did you practice flying the drone?
In an open field behind our office
How long did the festival last?
for 3 days.
Did you fly the drone on the first day of the festival?
No,
Why?
because I wanted to be safe and it was horrible weather, so I didn't want to take any risk that day.
Did you fly the drone on the second day of the festival?
Yes, I did.
Did you get to the how was the weather?
Perfect.
So, where did you choose to fly the drone?
I chose to control a drone from the lifeguard tower
Why did you choose to use a lifeguard tower?
because it was a great way to navigate the drone and see where it's going.
So, was the weather good while you were flying the drone?
Yes.
Was there any time that you had lost control of the drone or anything of that manner?
Well, I got some security calls with an emergency, so I had to take the call, and I put the drone on hover function mode, and so I just placed the tablet computer on the ledge, and I took the call, and the computer tablet fell off the ledge onto the desk, so the screen cracked, and I lost control of the drone.
How high was the drone when you had put it on the automatic cover function?
It was about 50 feet high.
Okay, where was the drone when you regained control of it?
It was next to Skylar Reed, which at the time I assumed passed out due to the heat.
Was there any visible damage on the drone?
No,
Did you continue to fly the drone that night?
no, just to be safe.
Overall, are you sorry about what happened to Skylar Reed?
Yes, I'm sorry what happened to Skylar Reed during the concert, but it was not my fault.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Hi.
Yes, Your Honor.
You hosted the Music in the Sand Festival on the 4th of July weekend, correct?
Correct.
And you were in charge of the entire event, correct?
Yes.
You wanted to use this event to increase the ratings of the radio station and your app sales, is that right?
Yes.
And to achieve this goal, you decided to use a drone to be able to broadcast parts of the concert so that your listeners could watch it over the internet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
There were thousands of people there, and you were responsible for their safety, is that right?
Yes.
The festival began on the 3rd of July, is that right?
Yes.
However, on the 3rd, you did not fly the drone over the crowd
No.
because the weather was bad, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This drone that you purchased has a hovering feature, is that right?
Yes.
On the 4th of July, you used that hovering feature, is that correct?
Yes.
But using this hovering feature, you left the drone unattended, is that true?
Yes. With an emergency phone call, yes.
For the record, I am now showing opposing counsel what has previously been marked as Composite Exhibit 4. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Cameron, I am now showing you what has been previously marked as Composite Exhibit 4. Do you recognize these?
Yes, I do.
What are these?
These are the instructions and safety manual for the drone.
Your Honor, I'm now moving Composite Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Accepted.
Permission to publish to the jury.
You may.
The safety instructions specifically say not to fly the drone during bad weather or winds exceeding 25 miles per hour. Is that right?
Correct.
And you would know this, correct?
Yes.
These same safety instructions also state that when using the hovering feature, and I quote, ground below must be stationary and clear of all moving objects or persons. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
These safety instructions also contain do's and don'ts. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over some of those don'ts. Don't fly over heavily populated areas such as beaches. Is that true?
Yes, but we send notifications on the ticket and we put signs everywhere, so.
That's great. However, the instructions still say not to fly over heavily populated areas. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Don't fly closer than 50 feet away from people. Is that correct?
Yes, but we only flew it 50 feet above the audience.
Don't leave the controller unattended while the drone is still active. Correct?
Correct.
And don't fly or use the drone for financial gain. Is that right?
Correct.
You flew the drone over the beach. Is that correct?
Yes.
You could say the beach was heavily populated. Is that correct?
Yes.
You flew it right over attendants' heads. Is that true, Miss Jackson?
Yes.
You left the controller unattended while the drone was still in action. Is that right?
Yes.
You flew this drone for financial gain. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you saw the drone after you got off an emergency phone call, it was lying on the floor, correct?
Yes.
Next to my client?
Yes.
You no longer have that drone, do you?
No.
After the festival, you returned the drone. Is that right?
Yes.
After my client's accident?
Yes.
And you were saving that footage from the drone that was capturing the event, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you promised Raven that you would give her the footage of her performance. Is that true?
That's correct.
You never did give her that footage, did you?
No, because it wasn't useful at all.
Even though you had already promised her that you would give her the performance footage.
Correct.
Because you deleted the footage after my client's accident. Is that correct?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to retrieve the evidence?
You may. Done. Next witness.
I'm going to stay on Raven. Please state your name and spell the last name for the jury.
My name is Raven Rowe, R-O-W-E.
Now, what do you do for a living?
I'm an acoustic musician.
Do you remember the date of July 4th, 2016?
Yes, I do.
What were you doing on that date?
I was performing at music in the Sands Festival.
Could you describe the weather at said festival?
It was very good weather, except there were powerful wind gusts.
Did you have any interaction with Cameron Jackson?
I did. He introduced himself before my show.
Did he tell you about a drone?
He did.
Objection, Your Honor. Here's
Stand.
How did the crowd react to the use of the drone during your?
They loved it.
Did it concern you that Mr. Reed was on the trash can?
It did.
Did you see him fall? During your?
I didn't see him fall, but I was pushed to the side by a strong wind gust.
Did you go and visit Skylar Reed in the hospital after the concert?
I did. I went to his hospital room and I performed a song for him.
And how did he react when you visited him?
He seemed kind of distracted or out of it.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
He didn't even recognize me.
No further questions.
Cross.
Weren't you surprised that Cameron Jackson used a drone during the concert?
I was.
Isn't it true that drones had never been used in any of your prior performances?
Correct.
Isn't it true that you asked Cameron Jackson for footage of the concert?
Yes, I did.
Didn't Cameron Jackson assure you that it wouldn't be a problem to give you the footage?
He did.
Did you ever receive the footage of the concert that Cameron Jackson guaranteed you?
No.
It didn't look like the drone was in control, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that you saw the drone flying directly to Skylar's right?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you only assumed that Skylar was knocked off the trash can by a strong wind, but did not actually see it happen?
That is correct.
No further questions.
Witness be stepped in. That's your next witness.
I'd like to call Dr. Kennedy to be witness. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kennedy.
What college did you go to?
I went to Stanford University.
What degree did you get?
I got an MD in physical therapy.
What's your job?
I work for the Coastal College football team as a physician.
How many years have you been working there?
Over the past 25 years.
Since you work with football players, do they sustain a lot of head injuries?
Yes, almost every single game I've seen countless.
Your Honor, I tender Dr. Kennedy as an expert on TBIs. How did you work on Reed's case?
I worked on Reed's case, but the only thing I was asked to do was come to a conclusion based on the reports.
How did you reach a conclusion?
I reviewed the reports.
In your professional opinion, do you think Dr. Boyd's diagnosis is correct?
I respect Dr. Boyd, but I think it's very incorrect.
From your professional opinion, how did Reed sustain his medical injury that you saw from your reports?
I believe that he fell and hit his head on the floor, which caused his brain to move forward by the pressure on the optical lobe, which caused his concussion.
So it was all internal?
Yes.
No further questions.
Cross.
Yes, Your Honor. You were hired by the defense to give an opinion of this case, correct?
Yes.
You didn't ever actually examine Mr. Skylar Reed, right?
No.
So you never actually saw or met him in person prior to today, correct?
No.
All you did was review the reports, correct?
Yes.
But even with reviewing the reports, you would have had a more accurate conclusion if you actually reviewed him, correct?
Yes.
You stated that if the drone hit Skylar, there would be external markings, correct?
Yes.
You never viewed a model or picture of the drone flown during the incident?
No.
So you weren't aware that there were guards over the blades, correct?
No.
So you said that he couldn't have been hit by a drone because there were no external markings.
No. I mean, yes.
Okay.
There were no external markings.
Okay, so now that you are aware that there were guards on the blades, with a little more research, could this possibly change your conclusion?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Witness may step down. Okay.
At this time, the defendants rest their case.
Prepared to proceed to closing arguments?
At this time, I'd like to reserve 1 minute for rebuttal.
Okay.
Thank you. In life, there are drivers and there are passengers. In this case, the defendant, Cameron Jackson, was the driver, and my client, Skylar Reed, was the passenger. And the defendant drove my client down a path of destruction. Driven down the wrong path is my client, Skylar Reed, having to suffer the consequences that Cameron Jackson has caused. for the rest of his life. On the night of July 4th, 2016, my client attended the Music in the Sand Festival, hosted by Jackson's radio station, WSCB. Jackson had a duty of care to the people attending this festival, and she breached it. Although she had never operated a drone before, she thought it would improve the radio station's ratings and the radio's app sales. Not even reading the instruction manual, delegating it to her college intern, she live streamed the concert from the drone anyways. My client, Skylar Reed, received VIP tickets to the concert as a Christmas present. He arrived there late, so he had to stand in the back of the VIP section. During the main performance, Raven, he wanted a better view of the performance, so he stood on a nearby trash can. During this time, Jackson was at the lifeguard tower, and she left the drone unattended to answer a phone call. Skylar was so into the performance that he didn't even notice the drone over his head until it started swerving out of control. The drone crashed into my client's head, causing him to lose his balance and fall off the trash can. And mind you, this drone, it may only weigh 2 pounds, however, it was going at 20 miles per hour. My client suffered from a concussion and a deep cut in the back of his head, as well as a frontal lobe injury. Jackson was negligent, reckless, and willful by operating a drone in an unsafe manner, failing to maintain control of her drone, and operating the drone over a large crowd of people. When she purchased the drone, a flight do's and don'ts list was included with the purchase. If she read it, she would have known that it specifically states not to fly the drone over a large crowd of people, not to use the drone for financial gain, and not to leave the drone unattended. And as we have learned in this case, Jackson has done all of these things. In life, there are drivers and there are passengers. Jackson denied hitting my client with her drone. She was the driver. My client was the passenger. And she drove my client down a path of destruction. And my client will have to suffer these consequences for the rest of his life. She put all of the people attending, she put their safety at risk just to improve her radio station's ratings. And we are confident that you will come back and you will find Cameron Jackson liable of the damages caused. And we thank you for your time and your attention.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client, Cameron Jackson, should not be held responsible for the negligence of Skylar Reed. Skylar Reed had received VIP tickets to the Music on the Sand Festival. When you enter the VIP area, there is a sign that looks exactly like this one, and it says, "Please refrain from climbing on stage, equipment, and other persons or objects." Even though Skylar Reed saw this sign, he still decided to break the rules and climb on the trash can. Now, Skylar claims to have been hit in the forehead by the drone, but he had a concussion in the forehead. According to an article on head trauma that went down in evidence as Exhibit 8, a concussion happens on the opposite side where the impact was. And even if Skylar does have good balance, the wind speeds were 10 miles per hour that night, so it would make it even more difficult to keep a good balance. Simply, when Skylar Reed was standing on the trash can, a big gust of wind came, which caused him to fall backwards and caused him to have a concussion in his frontal lobe. But don't take my word for it. Take Dr. Harper Kennedy's word for it. Dr. Harper Kennedy has a bachelor's degree in physical therapy and an MD from the School of Medicine at Stanford University. She has been an expert in this field for over 24 years, and she agrees with me that Skylar Reed lost his balance while he was standing on the trash can and fell backwards, which caused a concussion in the frontal lobe. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am very confident that with all of the evidence that we have presented to you, you now know that Skylar Reed's injuries had nothing to do with the drone that Cameron Jackson was flying, but rather Skylar's negligence and balance. Thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have learned in this case that Skylar Reed fell off a trash can, but he wouldn't have fallen if the drone was operated safely. And we've learned from Dakota Adams' observations and Dr. Boyd's conclusions that the drone hitting his forehead would not have caused any external markings due to the guards on the drone. And the defense has stated themselves that it was only 10 miles per hour of winds that night. So their claim that a small gust of wind has caused my client to fall off a trash can is simply incorrect. We've heard from Dr. Boyd himself that these consequences will cause dementia later in life. So ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you will find Cameron Jackson liable of the damages caused, and we thank you.
Thank you.